Hello. In the day we'll be playing by your hands. We're going to start day 6 for Camille. Hey. Hey, how's it going? Goes alright. Let's go head to the campus gym if you want to tag along. Could use a spotter and everyone else wants to be lazy, so? Well, I don't know. I might have to clear out my busy schedule to make time for it. So that's a yes? Yeah. I was actually kind of hoping we could hang out for a while today, just us. Well, I don't have any other plans. I'll be over in a few then. Alright. Deep breath in. Long heavy groan out as I needed the bridge of my stout. I didn't know if I could do this. It took me a while to untangle myself from these sweaty seats. I've been tossing and turning pretty much all night just thinking about how I talk with Camille about everything. And then I groan. Weekends at the lab were usually pretty uneventful. They weren't really any tests to run, no appointments with Dr. Tanya or any of the other researchers, nothing. I'd either stay in my room and take the time for recreation or walk the lab grounds for a while. Back when I was little and Connor was still around, those were our days to hang out with Camille. For the past few years, it was either just me in the crocodile or me by myself. The thought had crossed my mind to text Rooster, see if he would be up for hanging out again, both for old time's sake and for moral support. He was both Camille's friend and gay, too, after all. He always seemed to know what to do at difficult times. But on the other hand, a one-on-one approach would probably be better. I didn't want Camille to feel like we were ganging up on him. So I made my way into the bathroom to rinse off in the shower and freshen myself up. I got dressed in something like the exercise outfit I wore the day before. Grabbed my duffel bag and I changed the clothes and got everything packed up and made my way downstairs. Dr. Abraham was sitting on the couch in the living room, thumbing through a few reports. Technically, it was his day off, but that usually just meant he would work from home instead of in the main labs. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen him not working on something or other. The Agama grunted when I passed by, keeping his eyes locked onto the pages in his hand. I gave him a greeting in return. Just when I was about to head out the door, he cleared his throat. He must have caught sight of the bag I was carrying. When he heard that I was going to work out with Camille, however, he praised my diligence in keeping with my physical well-being. I left out the exact reason why I wanted to hang out with my friend that particular day, of course, and kinda had always liked to say what he didn't know wouldn't hurt him. With that, I made my way out and down the sidewalk, passing by a house at the uniform pristine house. The distance had always annoyed me when I was younger. I didn't understand why Camille's and Connor's families couldn't live next door, even in the same house, so we could play together as often as possible. But today the short walk gave me just that little bit of extra time to consider my plan of action. Hey Camille, you know I'm your friend, right? So if there's anything you want to talk about, you can. I'm here for you, man. Nah, that wouldn't work. You probably just changed the subject or something like that's supposed to be my line. Camille, listen, you've been acting really weird lately. I know you don't like gay people. That will probably be a bit too direct. He'd probably just get pissed and cut me off again, like he had the day before. I needed him to listen to me. This time I had to find some way to get through him. So, how about those gays, huh? No. Deep breath in through flaring nostrils. Have a sigh out through gritted teeth. I figured out I have to. I just need to ring the doorbell. I adjust the strap of my duffel bag on my shoulder. Faster, a closed-lipped smile on my face as the door swung open. Morning, Camp. Wex. Salam, good morning. I guess you're here to see Camille, huh? Yes, sir. Well, come on in. You should be down shortly. As he usually would, Dr. Rashid stood aside to allow me to step into the house, and as I usually would, I gave him a respectful nod and a murmured thank you while taking the invitation. And what are you two planning to get up to today, huh? We're going to the university gym to work out, sir. I see. Trying to stay fit, eh? That's good to hear. And how have things been going for you at the university then? Are you keeping yourself out of trouble? Yes, sir. Alright. A few suppressed calls from the older male cut me off. He grimaced and pulled a handkerchief out of his coat pocket to cover his mouth. When the fit finally passed, he cleared his throat and straightened back up. And then Professor ignored the way his tense shoulders were shaking with the effort. Excuse me, do go on. I actually joined the football team. That's why I'm working out with Camille. Do you now? Well then, maybe you can both keep each other out of trouble. And Bruce Norton's laugh was trailed off into more coughing. Yes, sir. Just when I was starting to sift from foot to foot under the crocodile's gaze, Camille came downstairs, hefting his own duffel bag onto his shoulder. Good morning, Dad. Thank you for letting Rex in. You heading out? Yes, we're gonna grab some breakfast on the way. Don't stay out too late. We won't. You ready to go, Rex? Yeah. Have a good day, sir. He held up one hand to wave us off, the other keeping the handkerchief over his mouth in place as he turned away. So, how you doing this morning, man? Good. I'm doing good. I realized that answer was probably a bit too quick, too sharp, and maybe a little too forceful, so I breathed out a sigh before giving him a small, apologetic smile. Don't think I slept all that good last night. All the excitement for this week's keeping me up, I guess, but I'm fine. Is your dad okay? That cough of his sounded pretty bad this morning. It's beginning worse and better off and on for a while. Another too quick, too sharp, too forceful answer. I looked away and squirreled at my scalp, and that gave me an idea on how to change the subject. I see you got your haircut finished up. Huh? Oh. Well, didn't have time to go get it cleaned up after hanging out with Di, so I just grabbed some scissors and did my best last night. I was tempted to say he looked good, but considering how things had gone the day before, I didn't want to push things too far. Thanks, man. Glad to know I didn't masquerade too badly. He laughed and clapped me on the back, then cleared his throat. Anyway, let's get out of here. I kind of want to get to the gym as early as possible. Is anyone ever gonna be there on the weekend? Nope. I mean, maybe. There's been a couple of times where like one or two other students will be working out too, but if we get there early enough, we should have the whole place to ourselves. Anyway, let's go. And so we went. Out the gate of the lab complex, getting a nod of acknowledgement from the guard and giving one in return. Down the streets leading towards the university, the cooling morning air helping to wake us up better than anything else. Stopping to grab some breakfast on our way, as Camille had said, something that would give us energy for a good long workout while not sitting too heavily in our stomachs. Part of me was tempted to start up the conversation I wanted to have with the crocodile. Another part, though, I realized just how true Yusuf's words the day before had been. Homophobia, religion, and deep-seated personal trauma really weren't good conversation topics to discuss over a meal. And despite the somewhat prickly atmosphere, it was nice to just chill out with Camille again, like how things used to be before that week. Before all the sit with the team and die and Yusuf in. But I didn't want to ruin the mood by jumping right into things. So instead, while he dug into his baked oatmeal and our months on my sausages, I tried to think up things we could chat about to pass the time. His eyes lit up at that, and he leaned forward in his seat. I heard him mention that he was majoring in kinesiology once or twice, but had never thought to question what exactly that meant. It was college stuff outside the lab and therefore irrelevant. But as he went into what was actually involved, what classes he was taking, what he was learning, how could it be applied, I couldn't help feeling a bit of his enthusiasm myself. Increase your lactate threshold so you can go at it longer and harder. That's how you really build things up without hurting yourself. I mean, when you exercise, you're basically pushing the muscles past their limit, so when they recover and repair themselves, they get stronger from it. So basically, what you and Kyle said yesterday. Yeah, hard work and discipline. I mean, you could cut corners, but better be natty. Yeah, you got it. And two swallowed and then gave Camille a bright, closed-up smile. Sounds like I should stick with you while I'm working out, then, since you know your stuff and all. Sure. I don't mind at all, man. It's a plan then. He nodded and took a sip of orange juice. I tapped my claws on the table and sit in my seat. Hearing about my session with Kyle and Sal got him laughing a bit, but the crocodile commended me for my efforts in bulking myself up, especially for knowing my limits and not trying to lift too much weight before I was ready for it. Then he smiled at my still lingering awe at all the exercise machines, so many ways to get the body moving and working in ways I hadn't even thought might be needed. And they were so much more comfortable than the machines used for my physicals at the lab too. Had a lot of fun with the guys, huh? Yeah. And you too, man. Yeah. Camille's ears flicked and his gaze dropped down to his plate. I couldn't help but blink in surprise at his reaction. Then again, Camille and Yusuf had both been acting like that the day before when I joined them at the squat rack. Had that been the act trying to have a talk with the crocodile about everything that was going on? Was that why Yusuf had been so insistent I speak to him today? I sighed and leaned my head on one of my hands. He was scratching my scalp a few times. Why this entire situation had to be so hard? Camille cleared his throat. He must have noticed a sudden prickiness between us as well. Well, we're gonna have a lot of time today, and I got some plans for going real hard with a couple of things I've been neglecting. I'll probably need a spotter for a lot of it, so can I count on you? Of course. My answer was both immediate and enthusiastic. That's the spirit. Let's crush it, alright? He lifted his glass of orange juice in my direction. After a moment of confusion, he gestured with a nod for me to clink my glass against his own. Yeah, let's do this. Neither of us could help it. We shared a brief laugh with one another before getting back to our meals. Yeah. Even if it was hard, and even if I still wasn't sure whether I could make things better or worse, or just make them worse, I was going to do this. I had to. For his sake. Even if I wasn't going to try talking with him about things right then, I could get myself prepared for it. Doing our walk to the campus probably wouldn't be a good time. In addition to being too public, we'd have to watch the lights at the crosswalk and keep aware of other pedestrians. Doing our workout might be the best time. I could strike up a conversation while we were resting from our sets or going between the different areas, just a comment or two to start things up, and then get into it depending on how Camille reacted. He said it himself, there was a good chance we'd have the whole place to ourselves. Although it probably was going to make things easier, and maybe it would be better to take it to the football locker room if it wasn't locked up. No one else from the team would be there. It would just be the two of us. I could get to talking with Camille while we changed out of our sweaty clothes. Stripped down together, smelling one another's post-workout scent. Heading into the south to get wet and soapy in. This problem was with gay stuff, not necessarily gay people, right? If Yusuf was right about him, then maybe I could show the crocodile that it was alright. That he could be friends with gay people and be okay. I mean, we were friends, weren't we? And if he wasn't in the closet, maybe I could show him it was alright to be out and to be attracted to other males and do gay stuff. Maybe show him a lot of gay stuff. You say something? No? No, just chewing. Alright then. Camille turned back to his meal but paused, sniffed the air, grunted and welted at his nose while glancing around. His face twisted into a confused grimace. Fuck, I wasn't putting out to me pheromones, was I? I ducked my head and tried to weld the not so little problem I was spiriting away, hoping all the while that Camille wouldn't notice. The smell of brewing coffee and various savory dishes in the air, the light chattering of a few other animals in the restaurant with us. The view of the city street outside, mostly quiet save for one or two other early risers on their way to wherever they were going. And Camille. For the most part, the weekends had always been our time to spend together. After all, he needed to leave the lab complex during the week for school, prayer, and whatever else. If we were still kids, we probably would have been running all over the residential area along with Connor. If it was just a few weeks ago, we probably would have been taking a walk or hanging out at his or Dr. Abraham's house together, doing our best to stay out of his dad's or Dr. Abraham's way, of course. So much had changed in so little time. But right there in that moment, we could just be two best friends hanging out, just like we always had been. We finished our meal, and then Camille paid, he insisted, before we continued on our way to campus. The place was even more deserted than it had been the morning before, aside from the security guards at the gate patrolling here and there, which made sense considering there wouldn't be any classes that day. There was just a faint sound of wind in the trees, the occasional chirping of a bird, wild and other footsteps as we made our way towards the athletic complex. We didn't go in the usual entrance, no need to put anything in our lockers just yet. Instead, Camille led me down the sidewalk which ran was right around the outside of the building to the covered one outside the university pool, and from there into the gym itself. Just needed to check in at the front desk, stretch and warm up, and then get started. So, what are we gonna do today? Well, I always planning to work on more core, work on my core, get things tightened up, you know? He grabbed a fist against his stomach. How about you? Gonna go see how hard you can push yourself on bench presses today? Want to make sure you get in the kind of workout you want to do, too. I allowed my gaze to wander over the gym floor. We weren't the only ones here, after all, but it was still empty enough that we had plenty of space for anything we wanted to do. Plenty of quiet and privacy, too. Mind if I just follow along with you? Not at all. Come on. We'll start with some planks and go from there. Alright, sounds good. A quick glance around. Where are they? Camille sighed, shook his head, and then reached over to ruffle the hair fur I didn't have with a quiet laugh. Never changed, man. With that, we got to it. Apparently, planks meant getting right back down on the floor to prop our bodies up and still positioned by the forearms, holding the pose for a minute, turned on Camille's phone, and then dropping down onto our knees to rest. 1 minute, then rest. 1 minute, and then rest, again and again. Just when the burn in my abs was getting to be too much to handle, we moved on to rotate our upper bodies from side to side in a sitting position, leaning back and keeping our legs extended. Then sit-ups with our arms held above our legs and our thighs splayed apart. It was a struggle to keep my eyes above the crocodile's waist and my focus on my own movements and breathing. Fuck. Already feeling it, huh? Yeah. Well, that's just a start. Take 5 and grab some water. Then we're gonna get right back to it. 5 minutes later, we were over at the weightlifting section grabbing a kettlebell, each for goblet squats. Standing side by side, watching each other's form in the mirror, keeping our abdominals taut and flexed for every rep, every set. Switching our kettlebells out for dumbbells, then taking turns with a well-loaded barbell for deadlifts. Every so often, when we were taking a break between sets, I tried to strike up a conversation, just trying to get things started while Camille was in a good mood and no one else was around, and we were both feeling the camaraderie that came from working out together. But so, Camille, what's up? I kind of wanted to talk to you about something. Well, do you think it could wait until after we're done? I'm kind of trying to get into the zone right now. I've kind of been thinking about yesterday when you, oh yeah, so I had to run off. The band Dies In was doing a performance at one of the clubs downtown. I already promised him I'd go see them. Oh, cool. But that kind of wasn't what I meant. Anyway, it's your turn. Come on, let's get to it. Speaking of Die, you seem like you're pretty good friends with him. Somebody feeling jealous? No, it's just, hey, relax. I'm kidding, man. But what brought this on all of a sudden? Well, I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy, and I don't want to sound like your dad or anything, but I'm not sure he's a good influence, you know? What do you mean? I mean, he's kind of, homophobic. Well, I mean, he might be. But everyone's got their flaws, right? Die, Reggie, Wyatt, Lamb, Tucker. You. If you're done wrestling, we're going to switch to one-legged deadlifts for a bit. We get these weights in the bar rack, and I'll go grab some dumbbells for us, okay? Okay. We spent the rest of our time in the gym just focusing on our workout. Camille seemed really intense about it. Long after I had to stop and catch my breath, he'd keep pushing himself with rep after rep, sweating and grunting and almost throwing his weights to the ground, where he finally finished, gulping down his water and then getting right back to it. Keeping his eyes on his own form in the mirror and only barely acknowledging any questions or comments I had. Every time I glanced over at the crocodile just to make sure I was keeping the proper form, that prickly feeling returned, and judged by the way both his ears and tail were flicking, he was feeling it too. It hurt almost as much as hearing what he said the day before in that Khadijah's head. So after we finished racking our weights and gathering everything into our gym bags, I insisted we head into the locker room together. To shower and change, yes, but also because it would be more private than out on the gym floor. It was also larger to the football locker room, with rows of freestanding lockers, creating aisles for even better privacy. And judging by both the silence and the lack of any first male sitting there, the crocodile and I were entirely alone. So, I didn't really have anything planned after this. I peeled off his shirt with a grunt, despite the tension in my shoulders and jaw. I did the same. It's still kind of early, but do you want to go grab some lunch? We could walk over to Khadijah's. Camille. Alright. He dropped down onto the bench with a gusty sigh, hunched over and rested his forearms on his knees. What is it you want to talk about? Deep breath in, slow, even breath out. A lot of stuff, mostly about the way you've been acting, not just towards me, but to start off. You're homophobic, aren't you? It wasn't a question. Used to put you up to this, didn't he? And Dad wasn't in denial. He and I have been talking, yeah. He made some really good points. He snorted and lashed his tail, looking away from me. See, thanks for the vote of confidence. I swallowed down a quiet growl and took a deep breath. Camille, look, I know what a great guy you are. You're one of my best friends, one of the only real friends I've had all my life. But everything you've been doing and saying anytime you're around a gay guy has been homophobic. Like when you stormed out of the hairdressers yesterday. If I didn't know you better, I'd say you were just 3 seconds away from punching Fiero. I don't know what happened when you went before, but it couldn't have been that bad. But it couldn't have been bad enough to make you act like that. Alright. So just because of that, all of a sudden I'm homophobe? It's not just that, though. Those two guys at Khadijah's too. After Di was going on with all that shit he was saying about them slobbering all over each other when they were just kissing, you started trying to defend him. I told you, that had nothing to do with them being gay. I was just trying to keep things chill so we could all have a good time together. What about those guys we ran into on the way to the masjid? They were being pussy, sure, and I get being uncomfortable with that, but that was the first time I've ever seen you get scary when you were mad. That got him to flinch. Was that because they were gay? Look, he continued to groan and grumble out a few syllables before rubbing at the bridge of his snout in frustration. Why is it so hard for you to understand? I don't like flirting. I don't like it when other people, guys, girls, anyone, flirts with me. And sure, I get a little uncomfortable seeing other people flirting with each other, but it doesn't have anything to do with them being gay. If that's true, then what about Tucker's party? I saw a bunch of flirting going on, and you didn't even bat an eye. You were even asking if there was anyone there I was interested in. Even Tucker got in on it. You didn't have any problem with that until that girl kicked him and ran off. He stayed quiet, hunching over himself like he had been punched in the gut. Why is it different when it's a gay couple inviting us out to dinner or being affectionate with one another? It's not about that. It's just people being so casual about sex. And I know that's a me thing. I'm simply not someone who wants to have sex with just anyone for the sake of it. It's supposed to be special. Okay, I understand that. But that doesn't mean you should treat people who are open about their sexuality so coldly. I mean, Camille told us all about everything he's done with his girlfriend when we were at Khadijah's. So what would be so different about a gay guy doing the same? There's a world of difference between talking about sex in a private conversation with friends and doing so out in public with complete strangers. That's just completely inappropriate. Okay, fine, you've got a point there. Bringing up sex around random people is inappropriate. But if they're just being casual about sexual topics, then what's the harm? If you ask me, I think being able to express your sexual desire seems like it would be liberating. If it's not hurting anyone, then why is it the problem? Because, okay, I've been harsh on those types of gay people, and I'm sorry about that. I just get uncomfortable with that display of sexuality. Again, that's a me thing. Doesn't mean I'm homophobic, though. It does if it's only a problem you have with gay people. Another snort. I took a deep breath in and tried to think of how Dr. Tanya will approach the situation. Okay, how about this? If it displays of sexuality you have a problem with and not gay people themselves, then why are you so fine with the other team members smacking your ass? We already talked about this with the other guys. They're my teammates. It's not like they're interested in having sex with me. So it's based on context? Well, yeah. And if it was a gay guy smacking your ass, you assume it's because he is interested in having sex with you? I mean, where else would? And there he is. Maybe because he's also your teammate and that's just the way things are on the team. Maybe you've been assuming that gay people are flirting with you when they're just trying to be nice. Take Fierro, for instance. You got upset when he called you a hunk, but it seemed to me like that's just the way he treats everyone. Camille buried his face in his hands, but that didn't stop a groan of frustration from leaking out. And I told you I was upset because it was making me uncomfortable and being rude about it. Camille, you don't ever get upset over someone being rude to you. You always try to keep things chill, even when it means rolling over and letting people say whatever they want. Even when they're being rude to someone else, you make people go along with whatever keeps the peace because you don't want to actually deal with any kind of conflict. He jumped up from his seat, lashed his tail, turning away from me. For a moment, I was afraid he was going to storm out of the locker room, but instead he just began pacing up and down the row of lockers. Why do you care so much about this anyway? I mean, it's not like you're gay, right? What if I was? He froze in place. I felt my jaw clenching. Heat burning across my snout, my stomach whirling. But I crossed my arms and forced myself to continue. Would it be a problem if I was attracted to males? Would me expressing my sexuality make you uncomfortable? Will you be upset that I've been flirting with you all this time? Wait, when have you ever flirted with me? You tell me. I've been hugging you, playing around with you. We've been teasing each other and being friendly for weeks and months and years. Alright, well, I'm sure you didn't mean anything by it. That was all just role stuff. It's not like you want to. And what did I do think you're attractive? Would that be a problem? The crocodile took a deep breath in through clenched teeth. Then it gushed out from his flaring nostrils. Look, I think we both need to just take a few steps back and calm down. I know this is all confusing. We've been both dealing with a lot of stuff this week. You don't need to worry so much about me, though. I can figure stuff out on my own. Let's just forget about all this and go sour. Cool our heads down a little bit. After that, maybe we could go. Every word out of the crocodile's mouth tightened the tension in my shoulders and my jaw and throat and my clenched, shaking fists. Tighter, tighter. Finally, it snapped. You're doing it again. Stop busting outside what I'm trying to say and fucking listen to me. I am gay, Camille. And I'm tired of watching you suck up the complete assholes while making excuses for your homophobic shit. Why don't you stand up for yourself for once, you spineless fucking bitch? Camille, I didn't know. You're right, Rex. I really fucked up, didn't I? Wanted to relax the vice grip I had on my shoulders, wanted to step away from him so we could both have some space, but all I could do was stay still and try to keep breathing in and out. I considered the possibility that you were gay, but I guess I was just too much of a flaccid pussy that faced the truth. Right, you knew? He tried to force out a laugh. You kind of made it really obvious, man. Had he noticed me ogling the other guys in the locker room, ogling him? Well, shit. To answer your question, no, it's not a problem. Fuck, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize my behavior was affecting you so much. He looked at me with eyes brimming with shame. Guess I can't deny it anymore, huh? I am a little homophobic. Well, he finally admitted it out loud. That was a start. Can I at least explain myself? Yeah, alright. We both sat on the bench side by side, keeping a bit of a distance just enough to be comfortable. I tried to keep my eyes on the crocodile, but time and again they dropped down to the floor between my shifting feet. So, you know my dad's really strict, right? Strict was an understatement. Kinda would always say Dr. Rashid had a stick up his ass whenever the rooster and I would go over to play with Camille. He'd always be there, keeping a stern eye on us both. Kinda to be sure he wasn't being a bad influence, and me to be sure I was keeping myself out of trouble. Yeah? Well, he doesn't exactly have the highest opinion of gay people. Oh. Under Dad, homosexuality goes against the natural order of animals, and it's a sign of the world's moral decay that sinning against Al-Malik in that way is being so normalized. He snorted, sighed, then scrubbed a hand over his face. When I was younger, I just took his word for it. It's not like I personally knew anyone who was gay, so I knew about them was what he told me. So Yusuf had been right. It was because of Camille's parents, one of them at least. I started to realize Dad wasn't right about everything as I got older. But I still, it looked like he knew full well that I probably wouldn't like what he was going to say. Just spit it out. I'd always assumed they were just like what Dad said and do everything I could to avoid them. Oh. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm one to talk about sin. I don't really follow the hadith as strictly as Dad does myself. I drank, I changed in front of other men, and plenty of other haram stuff too. The point is, I don't think that now. I don't hate gay people. I really don't even think they're that bad in general. But whenever I see a gay guy, or if someone or something gay gets mentioned, I still get uncomfortable. Maybe a little angry. I know it's irrational, but I guess it doesn't help that it's just a divisive issue in the masjid. It's a lot more accepted in some other communities, and I guess it has gotten better over the years in ours as well. But I still remember when the topic of homosexuality got people arguing and debating and ranting. It felt like just mentioning or even thinking about it made everything tense and combative. And even for some of the members who do accept gay people, it's more like they're fine with them as some abstract thing that's just out there in the world. But if any of their kids or grandkids came out, even mom, she was actually pretty okay with gay people, but it's pretty clear in hindsight that she didn't really know much about them. But I'd like to believe that if she was given the opportunity, she'd be more than willing to learn about and accept them for who they are. Especially if someone like you came out to her. He looked away with a quiet grunt before continuing. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm just making excuses for myself. I know I'm the only one who's responsible for my behavior, but I don't know. I wish it was different, but my emotions just get the better of me when it comes to gay stuff. So, yeah. Well, that's a lot to take in. But hey, maybe you're not a lost cause after all, huh? I tried to give him a playful smile. He tried to force out a quiet laugh. Listen, Camille, I'm not saying it's okay for you to feel the way you do about gay people, but you also shouldn't just bottle up all your emotions inside. I want you to tell me what you're feeling instead of ignoring the issue. And I want you to know, I want to show you that gay people aren't just the shit your dad or the people in your community put in your head. Because you're my friend, man. My best friend. I appreciate it, Rex. I do, really. But I'm just not used to putting everything out in the open like that. I've always lived with the expectation that I shouldn't get overly emotional or let things get to me. I mean, crocodiles don't cry for anything, right? And who exactly says that? A soft snort. Dad, Iman Masood, everyone. But why? Right, you don't really know. Is it because you're a herbivore? He looked at me. He looked away and kneaded his brow with a long, slow, gusty sigh. You really have been talking to Yusuf, haven't you? I just looked right back at him with expectant brow perked upwards. It kind of has to do with that, yeah. His shoulders heaved with a deep breath as he hunched over himself once more. We crocodile are mythicals with a lot of history back in Cyrus. According to the local apexes, we're a bunch of vicious monsters who ravage the lands and attack anyone who isn't. He huffed. Anyway, yeah, that's something we share in common with a lot of the bigger herbivore species out there. We weren't ever kept as livestock, but that wasn't for lack of trying. That's why Dad always been strict about always giving the best impression we can and has always expected the best of me. When I did good, I had to do great. When I did great, I had to do perfect. And when I did perfect, I had to keep being perfect. I couldn't make mistakes or show weakness or else. He made it clear that people will only respect me if I'm the kind of perfectly dependable crocodile who's nothing like the wild, ferocious beast sailors used to know us as. But I'm not perfect, and I'm well aware of that. Most days I'm able to get by, but sometimes the pressure is just way too much. I'm just terrified of losing the goodwill of the people who rely on me. I didn't know what to do. So those were the expectations everyone was put on him. That was the way things are. I lifted an arm to wrap it around his shoulders and drop it right back down. I shifted a little closer to him and then flinched away, ducking my head and squirming in my seat. I opened my mouth, trying to think of what Dr. Tanya would say. What Yusuf would say. What I should say. That's not fair. You shouldn't have to feel pressure to always act perfectly no matter what. And you shouldn't have I opened my mouth, trying to think of what Dr. Tanya would say. What Yusuf would say. What I should say. That's not fair. You shouldn't have to feel pressure to always act perfectly no matter what. You shouldn't feel like you need to hold others to those standards too. That's not fair either. I know I'm just an ignorant carnivore who barely knows anything about the world outside the lab. I have no idea what it's like being in your position. But would you rather live a life where you're free and disliked than one where you're respected and constricted? I opened my mouth, trying to think of what Dr. Tiny would say. Was Yusuf would. I opened my mouth, trying to think of what Dr. Tiny would say. What Yusuf would say. What I should say. That's not fair. You shouldn't have to feel pressured to act always perfectly no matter what. And you shouldn't feel like you need to hold others to those standards too. That's not fair either. I know I'm just an ignorant carnivore who barely knows anything about the world outside the lab. I have no idea what it's like being in your position. But would you rather live a life where you're free and disliked than one where you're respected and constricted? Even if you start walking the boat, as it were, you'll still have your real friends sticking by with you. Connor, Yusuf, me. What good is there in giving up your freedom just for some people who don't deserve your attention? You want to talk. I'm sorry. That wasn't a fair thing to say. Sorry. What I meant is, you should know what it's like to have all these kinds of expectations of you. Because I'm wild born, right? I guess I do know what it's like to have everyone expecting you to act the right way, yeah? Telling you what to do, what not to do, how to act appropriately. I couldn't stop myself from giving the crocodile a pointed look. Getting mad at you for not acting the way you were supposed to. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not mad at you, but I get it if you were mad at me. I was a real asshole to you yesterday, when you were just trying to make sure I was alright. I really do appreciate it, even if I was an overly emotional idiot and tried to push you away by. I'm sorry. My arm lifted up again. This time my hand settled on his shoulder. I forgive you. Just, I want to be there for you, like you've been there for me, alright? What I'm trying to say is, you're not the only one who's got all these expectations on you. You're not alone. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. He wrapped an arm around me in return, giving me a brief squeeze. I really need to think all this over, but thank you for talking to me about it. You're welcome. Just remember, you can talk to me about whatever's bothering you. Okay? You don't always have to be the strong, responsible, dependable one. Alright. For now, though, we should probably hop at the shower. Another squeeze followed by a light laugh. Both smelling pretty wiped after that workout. Yeah, let's get to it. We both stood and stepped away from one another to finish undressing. I can't lie, I was a little afraid he'd be uncomfortable with it after everything I had told him. But if he was, he didn't show it. Both of us strode down in silence, peeling our sweaty clothes off and tugging them into our bags. Then we grabbed our respective towels along with some body wash. I was making my way towards the shower stalls, meant to provide plenty of privacy like everything else around the gym locker. About the gym locker room, it seemed, when Camille stopped me with a quiet cough. Hey, Rex. Yeah? You said you're gay, right? And that you're attracted to me? Yeah? He shifted from foot to foot, grunted and huffed, flipped his tail and ears while keeping his gaze averted from mine. I really do appreciate you telling me and having this talk with me and just everything. So if you want, then... A deep breath in and a gushy sigh out. And then, how about we go into one of the salad stalls together? You can do whatever you want with me. I felt like I had to pinch myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming. What brought this on all of a sudden? He snorted and crossed his arms over his chest, lashing his tail. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about sex. I'm not into you that way, man. Honestly, you're like a little brother to me or something. Ouch. But I was thinking, I know that you're into me and you want to do stuff with me. But you've been holding yourself back for the sake of our friendship. I really do appreciate it. So to thank you for restraining yourself, I'm alright with letting you look at me or touch me if you want. Just this once. I was tempted. I really was. Everything in me, the tension in my throat, the heat across my snout, the whirling and pulsing in my groin, was screaming at me to accept the offer. I had to take a deep breath to calm myself down. Even he was just doing it for my sake. He was giving me the chance to indulge. Did I want to pass up the opportunity? Is something wrong? With another steady breath, I crossed my arms and looked the crocodile right in the eyes. You're doing it again. You're assuming that just because I'm both gay and attracted to you, that means that I'm constantly struggling to not stare at or pounce on you whenever you're around. The entire point of the conversation we just had was that you need to stop believing all gay people are sex-crazed deviants who are just suppressing themselves in public. I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry, I fucked up again, didn't I? A little bit, but I'm not mad. Okay, maybe I am a bit pissed off. I'm not just gonna forgive and forget about how homophobic you've been acting because you let me touch your pecs. Yeah, I know, sorry. It's fine, really. Just don't make that mistake again, alright? Camille grunted, but both his head and ears drooping, his tail flicking behind him as he stared at the tile floor. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he looked disappointed. It was my turn to clear my throat and shifted from foot to foot. But if you want me to touch your body, then I think I'd be alright with doing so. He huffed and gave me a heatless glare. Only in your wet dreams. Oh, what's the matter, big bro? Don't you want to make sure I have a good first time with another man? I got a snort and a swat in my general direction from the crocodile. Don't make it weird. Okay, sorry. I was laughing, holding my hands up to ward off any other retaliatory blows. He snickered and reached through my defenses to ruffle the head fur I didn't have. The tension between us eased, relaxed, and faded away. Once again, we were just two best friends having a good time together. That said, it is just the two of us here, so we might as well say a sour style, just to sour off. Are you sure? He flipped his ears, breathing deep. Then he nodded. Yeah, I'm sure. Together, Camille and I stepped into one of the sour stalls. It was surprisingly spacious, allowing us both plenty of room to move around as the crocodile turned on the sour head. We took turns getting ourselves wet under the stream of water, scrubbing ourselves down, and then rinsing off. It was more than a little awkward at first, I'll admit. It only made sense considering everything we had just talked about. It probably didn't help that I was getting the occasional eyeful. No matter how much he tried to prevent it, it was probably giving him a few in return. As the hot water washed away the sweat and grime and soothed the soreness in our muscles, both of us started to relax and enjoy ourselves. We were just two young adult males getting clean together, nothing less and nothing more. So, you were saying something about getting lunch earlier? Oh, yeah. He chuckled, scrubbing a few last suds out his hair for it, then turned the water off. I wouldn't be opposed, man, but you did give me a lot to think about. I might need some time to myself. Oh, okay. I scratched my jaw, keeping my gaze away from the crocodile as he started towering off. After a few moments of just standing there awkwardly, I turned to start doing the same. So I guess no date then? Camille snorted and whipped his towel at me. Don't you start with that kind of talk now. Alright, I'll stop. But just to be clear, you are okay with, me being attracted to you. He took in a deep breath through flaring nostrils. Let it out in a gusty heave outside. Looked at me and nodded. Yeah, I guess I really am okay with it. To be clear, do you think you like me in that way? I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I do. I really like you, Camille. Well, I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with that, too. But he grinned wide, darted in close, and slung his arm around my shoulders to start jostling me around. I think as long as you keep being you, I'm gonna be alright with my best friend having the hearts for me, yeah? Don't worry, I don't plan on changing. I'm the gayest dinosaur on campus, and don't you forget it. You're the only dinosaur on campus. Exactly. Another sad laugh. Seriously, don't ever change, okay? You're a great guy to know, Rex, and I'm glad to have a friend like you. Likewise. You're the most dependable guy I know. You really are. Just don't take on so much when you know you have people around to support you, alright? If all else fails, I'll always have your back. Just like you've always had mine. I guess you really are growing up fast, aren't you? Took you long enough to notice. I just hope you still like the guy I'm growing into. He pulled me into a little bit closer. You know what? I think I do. I allowed myself to rest against his side a little. Despite our state of undress and despite all the awkwardness and lingering tension from our conversation, there wasn't a single hint of prickliness between us. We were just two guys, two best friends enjoying each other's company, and even if things weren't like they always had been, they were pretty good for the time being. Maybe things will only get better from there. Back in the locker room, there's a bit of awkwardness we'd been feeling all morning returned. Considering what we had just done, and considering what Camille had confessed, it only made sense, I guess. He flipped his ears in terror, not looking over at me as we got undressed. Considering what we had just done, and considering what Camille had confessed, it only made sense, I guess. He flipped his ears and tail, not looking over at me as we got dressed. I gave him the same courtesy. That moment we had sailed in the shower together was probably a lot more than I could or should have expected the crocodile. So after pulling on my clean change of clothes and grabbing my bag, I gave him a smile and a wave before heading out. The gym was well and truly deserted, the student worker at the front desk providing the only signs of life in the place. Part of me wondered if coming a little bit later wouldn't have been a better idea after all. Part of me realized how lucky Camille and I were that nobody else had gone into the locker room ourselves while we were having our moment. Part of me was hefting my bag and noticing that it felt a little bit too light. I stepped over to the side out of habit and then unzipped my bag to rifle through it, making sure that I had grabbed everything. Phone ID, water bottle, towel, workout shorts, underwear. Where was my shirt? I turned around and made my way back into the locker room. After everything that had happened between me and Camille, I must have forgotten it. I did kind of have a lot on my mind after all. Hey, Camille, did I leave my... Rex, what are you doing back here? I didn't grab some of my clothes after we... What do you... My eyes started from Camille's soft, stain-filled face to the needle sticking into his thigh. What is that? A soft snort. The crocodile hunts further over himself, his horn pointed right at me, framed by his glaring eyes. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. Camille, don't. Take the fucking hit and leave me alone. He finished pushing the plunger down and then yanked the needle out of his leg. Fuck, damn it. I could only stand there, frozen, as he turned and tossed the needle in a small bottle back into his bag, then rose to his feet and started pulling on his clothes. Here, this is yours, right? He tossed me the shirt I left behind at me. Yeah, thanks. I couldn't move a single muscle as the crocodile stormed past me and out in the locker room. My chest was tight. My stomach was whirling. The tips in my throat was almost strangling me. What was that? Camille, can we talk about what happened in the locker room? Where are you? Checking in again. You're kind of really worrying me. Camille, please call me or text me or something. I'm gonna go to bed now. I guess I'll see you tomorrow. If not, then maybe Monday. Please? Well, if it isn't the Teddy Munson brother. This is the public build that adds day 6 of Camille's to the game. Ouch, that was an ending. I hope you'll take the time to process what happened because that was a lot. Don't worry. Daddy Ramir is going to make things easier for you. Yeah, I should have punched him. Believe it, champ. It's better to pull the bandage off all at once and gradually. That being said, so you rejected the homophobe's offer. Even though I don't agree with that decision, I can still commend you for not taking things too far and going at a steady pace. I'm just saying though, when you're handed the opportunity, maybe you shouldn't pass it up so brazenly. But fine, I shouldn't bag on you too much for picking the sensible option. I mean, you did have a sweet moment with Camille, so that's nice. Aside from that, Rex managed to talk to Camille and get a good idea of what's going on without not Wino's head, but he's still got a long ways to go before he's able to truly help him out. So what you think of this day? Nothing. Score 1 for the boys back home. Now do me a favor, rate the game. If you haven't, I'm kind of obliged to ask you, since you like it so much. What do you think of Camille now? Yeah, he's really hard to figure out. Pat yourself on the back for you've managed to make a not Wino really happy with you. As long as you continue to be a good dom for your submissive jock, I'm sure you'll be able to achieve the happy ending you want with him. Shelley wants you to take a survey on your thoughts on the game. He wants as much feedback as possible so he has a good idea on what his readers think of the game. Just click on the purple button on the left to take it, though make sure you come back here after you're done with the survey to see what else it had to say. Okay. Okay, so this is the survey. This has 5 routes, so covered Camille and Brendan, and we still got Connor and Owens and Vlad to do. So. Okay, so this is the survey. Day 6 required a lot of resources both in terms of art and writing. Lots of different branches in that day, and a mostly intense story that needed to impact the reader in just the right way. Certainly, it was a lot of work for both Shelley and Nemo, but they were still able to finish all of it and make something they're proud of. Shelley was also able to finish a lot of the art assets that were left unfinished in this build. Shelley really hopes you guys enjoyed it as he and Nemo have been waiting to showcase this part of the story for months. The team's going to take a break for the next few months. After that, Owen's route is going to be worked on. Such a good chubby cyborg. Looking forward to what happens with him. Also tell Shelley to get Bard Shoulder Bloom out of hiatus. It's getting a little lonely. Today's rule of the FAB, FSB, DBBLT is number 66. Always have a goal in mind, or else you'll be left behind. If you don't have a reason to keep moving on in your life, then what's the fucking point? Before I go, I want to say one more thing about your progress on this route. I'm going to reveal that there are branching paths to this route. This affects what events happen. Based on all the obstacles you've made so far, it's safe to assume that you're currently on the con. And that instantly, I guess that was by design. On the con, I don't know what it is though. Anyway, so that was day 6 for Camille. So we completed Brendan's route. Well, the first arc of his route. And we just completed the first arc of Camille's route. So we completed arc 1 with 2 characters. So the next person that we start the route on would be Owen. Now, I thought that after Camille, we were going to start Connor next. That's what I assumed was going to happen, since Camille and Connor are Rex's 2 best friends. I thought we'd have roots of them together, like Camille first and Connor will come afterwards, but instead we're going to do Owen, so I guess I have to wait even longer for Connor, but because I'm eager to learn about him, because he's really infatuated, well, I don't know if it's the right word, but he very much loves Rex. He loves him a whole lot, so I really want to see more of Connor and know more about him. So Connor, he's gay and he loves Rex, so at least in Connor's route, Rex has to have to deal with the homophobia they had to deal with. Camille. So So I figured it would be Camille's father that made Camille have the views about gays that he does. His father thinks that gays as sexual deviants and that it's immoral for people to have interest in the people of the same sex. And I'm not an expert on Iran, which is a culture that Camille comes from, or at least in this story, that's the culture that this VN for Camille is based off of. But it's not an okay thing in Iran. Plus, Islam and all that, and it's not a separate thing. So I wasn't surprised that it would be his father. So that's not really acceptable in Iranian culture. And there's still a lot of places around the world where it's still not acceptable. There are a growing list of countries where homosexuality and same-sex marriage is becoming more acceptable. Where it's being legalized now. It started in Western Europe and then the U.S. and Canada, and you got several countries in Asia where it's legalized now. Taiwan, they made that legal. They made same-sex marriage legal several years ago, and I think Thailand just made it legal early this year. So you got 2 Asian countries now, and I think Camille was telling the truth about his life and his father and his mother, saying that his mother would have been more accepting of it, and that his father was the main reason he had those views against gays, and that his father is really homophobic, very homophobic, and that, and also I think him having to control his, not fighting back and always letting people talk trash to him and step on him and all that stuff. He said that his species, the crocodiles, these mythical creatures, these huge, large, heavyweight, herbivore people, they got a negative stigma from the carnivores, and they're portrayed as these violent beasts. It's kind of strange, because, carnivores are kind of like violent creatures, I mean, I'm not saying that they're, the heartless, this violent creatures, but, they do prey on other animals, so. But anyway, Camille's species is very much portrayed as being these violent, savage people. So for Camille to not fit the stereotype, he has to be calm and just not really stand up for himself. If he did, then he would fit the stereotype that many people, carnivores especially, have of his species. And his dad told him that as well. So there's a lot of trauma in Camille. And at the end there, he got angry and stormed off. I mean, I think for a brief moment he was okay with Wex doing a little bit of intimate stuff in there, and then once the moment ended, he got to think about it. That's when he went back to his ambivalent self about the whole issue of gays, and then he got angry and stormed off. And right before he did, we saw him inject something into his thigh, which I believe is steroids. So it certainly kind of contradicts all that talk about him. You know, he seems to be very prideful about how he exercises, you know, all that. So I wouldn't think that he would use steroids, but apparently he does kind of use the easy way to build muscles, like a lot of athletes are, and have been too. So you know, you got a lot of routes now in this game. You know, I think there's gonna be 5 routes total for this VN. So with the multiple amount of routes in this, it will probably be a while, like maybe a year or 2 before we come back to Camille's route. So well, it's hopefully the wait won't be too long, but with the amount of routes we got for the characters, like 4 or 5 routes, it'll probably be a while before we come back to Camille. So for Arc 2 or Act 2, I think it's what I call. Anyway, so now that we at the end of Act 2 Act 1 for Camille. Now that we're at the end for Act 1 Camille, you know, just write in the comments what you think of the entire route and everything that has happened in this route for this first act. What do you think of Camille? Do you like him? Do you like him less? I like his character. I still do like him as a person, but there's some things about him that I don't like. But I certainly love his character. You know, him as a character. You know, this conflicted person, you know, and you're influenced by what your parents say, and plus there's a stigma about your species, and you have to act a certain way so that stigma won't become true. And so your dad could be proud or satisfied with you, and all your teammates are satisfied with you, and that's not a healthy combination, you know. I think Camille needs to stand up for himself more, and sometimes it even means getting angry. Yeah, there's a stereotype that people have about his species, but that shouldn't stop him from standing up for himself and speaking out against others who do him wrong. And if people want to believe in ignorance about his species, that's their problem, not Camille's. So this game is going to go on a 2-month break. It's going to go on a 2-month break, and then they're going to start with Owen's route, the Orca. So thank y'all very much for watching. Goodbye.